Hey guys, Dave from Nerdarchy, 4 Nerds by Nerds, hanging out with
Nathan Nerdarch.
Nerdarch is Ted.
Today we're going to leap into Volo's Guides of Monsters as we explore the Grung.
Jump down the description below where you can sign up for Nerdarchy the newsletter, get weekly gaming tips, as well as learn how to game with Nerdarchy.
So we're going to delve into our Volo's Guides to Monsters on page
156.
and we're going to be talking about the Grungs. We recently did a video because it was announced that Grungs are now going to be a player race from Tomb of Annihilation, it would appear. So we're like, hey, what's up with these Grung things? Let's take a look at them. Let's do a video. So they're really interesting in the sense that they're based off of a caste system.
So the first thing, I mean, they're frogs, they're toads. They have different colored casts. First thing that jumped into my mind was the Slod. They have nothing other than that similar to Slod. But that's the first thing that jumped into my mind.
Because they're both froggy.
Actually, the caste system and the colors made me think of Sneetches from Dr. Seuss.
Well, you know, here's the really weird thing, because they do have the caste system and they have the colors. But at first, I thought they were going to be kind of like independent of each other, and they're not. Like, it kind of mixes and matches, and you can go from one color to another. That changes, it changes your cast.
Yeah, on rare occasions.
And the way they're statted out, like, I'm like, okay, there's going to be a green grung, and an orange grung, and a red grung, but it's not. It's like, here's the old generic grung, and depending on what caste you belong to, use this stat block.
Right.
And then there's the sidebar.
The sidebar, I think, is pretty darn cool, because not only is it, that you can do these variety of different poisons based on the color, but you could wind up extracting those as poisons for later use.
Right, you can maybe turn it into something else in your game, and each one has their own kind. They all have like a generic poison that does the same thing, right? It gives you the poison condition. Maybe you do more damage depending on whether they put it on a blade or a weapon, or you touch them or lick them or whatever. But then there's other properties that can happen as well from being poisoned by a grung. You want to read those because they are kind of funny.
They are absolutely amusing. So, variant grung poison. A creature poisoned by a grung can suffer an additional effect that varies depending upon the grung's skin color. This effect lasts until the creature is no longer poisoned by the grung. Green, the poisoned creature can't move except to climb or make standing jumps. If the creature is flying, it can't take any actions or reactions until it lands. Blue, the poisoned creature must shout loudly or otherwise make a loud noise at the start and end of its turn. Purple, the poisoned creature feels a desperate need to soak itself in liquid or mud. It can't take actions or move except to do so or to reach a body of liquid or mud. Red, the poisoned creature must use its action to eat if food is within reach. Orange, the poisoned creature is frightened of its allies. And then last but not least, gold. The poisoned creature is charmed and can speak grung.
Actually, that one is the most useful. Now, I thought it really important to bring up the poisons, right, and their variants, because grung are slavers. They like to capture people, and one of the ways that they maintain their hold over their slaves is by poisoning them through food. So they're using their poison, giving them small doses, and keeping them kind of like docile and stuff like that. Which is kind of funny too if you think about it, because grung are small creatures. So they might have humans or ogres or whatever happens to be around enslaved, and they're using them.
And I think they have a small creature complex because it says that they enjoy bossing the slaves around, almost like that's the reason why they have them.
They're all little Napoleons. So all of that's really interesting. It makes me think like the actual lair, tribe, or wherever it is that they live, town of grungs is going to be kind of an interesting place, because as you read, like, you got people shouting, you got other people jumping and climbing, other people won't leave the water or leave the mud. So it's kind of a wacky and crazy place if you think about it, because these slaves are all acting in this weird way.
Yeah, and in general, if they have the poison for too long, it says that you need restorative magic to fix it, because they just will kind of be a shell of their former self.
Yeah, and it makes you wonder too, what happens if you have multiple generations that have been enslaved by the grung and have grown up there all their lives?
There'll probably be a bit of madness to them, I think.
Would they develop any dependency upon the poison?
I don't know, or maybe start secreting it themselves. Who knows what would happen? What happens if trolls eat too many grungs?
Oh man.
So grungs basically they tend to be arboreal. They're amphibious. So that kind of like speaks to where you're gonna find them.
Yeah, they like trees and pools.
Yeah, pretty much. And they absolutely need to be submersed in water once a day. So you're not going to find them in arid or dry regions. They have to have access to bodies of water, or else they're going to begin to dehydrate. They're going to gain levels of exhaustion, and it gets to a point where the only way they can remove those is by being submersed in liquids or restorative magic.
And similar to frogs, which the Grung are based off of, amphibious creatures, their young are going to have to be raised in pools.
Yeah, like each color has their own pools where they have tadpoles, and after about 3 months, the tadpoles start to take on the form of the grung.
And they come out gray, and it is only through actually living with their cast that they actually develop the correct color.
Right.
So,
oh, you know what? Too, we should probably bring this up in case people haven't figured it out by now. Grung are bipedal frog creatures,
yes,
so they would also have the humanoid type.
right, and they are small, which is halfling sized.
Yeah, and which is fun. That's the funny part about them kind of being slavers is like you're literally being you're going to get captured by this little thing that comes up to your waist, and you're like, haha, so cute. And next thing you know, all you can do is hop around or scream at each other, and you're afraid of your friends. So that's pretty crazy. You want to read that quote from Volo, because I found that quite amusing.
Sentient, poisonous frogs that live in trees. Truly, the gods hate us. Volo.
Yeah, so that's pretty funny in and of itself. And then, so you have the grung, and they range in their challenge.
So they start off at a quarter with a basic grung. Then there's the grung wildling, which goes up to a 1. And then the elite warrior is a 2.
Right, so, and the wildling is also a spellcaster as well. They have access to some ranger spells. So there's definitely some different ways you're going to be able to use these, some interesting ways to use them. And they're still low CR, so you're going to be able to use them kind of early in your game. But I feel like using a bunch of these at the same time could be problematic for your players.
Yeah, everybody's going to be dazed and doing all kinds of crazy stuff when the poison affects.
I mean, the DC is typically like a 12 on their poison. But if you do enough of it, chances are, even for someone who's got a decent constitution and is proficient, your chances are eventually you're going to fail that.
Right. So there is that complication. So where is the best place to use these guys? To me, it seems like, jungle, swamps, that's probably where you're going to find these. So if you're planning your adventures around those areas, a grung would be a really good monster to use. Maybe you don't want to use lizard folk or bullywogs. Or maybe you want to use the grung in conjunction, because they literally could have enslaved them both.
Absolutely.
So what are some fun and interesting ways for us to insert grung into our games?
So what if you had a river town that does trade, and people keep coming back funny? Until they've managed to shake off this poison, they're doing all these weird effects. So nobody really knows what's going on, because the people who are coming back, the stuff's missing. Some people might be missing, and the people that are there are acting crazy, and they're like, no one's believing what they're saying. Like, what do you mean frogs attacked you? Or what do you mean? Bright colors. Like, they're not
giant frogs. We got ambushed by giant frogs.
So a new twist on highwaymen.
Yes.
Well, the other idea too is, maybe the grung actually just start poisoning like water supplies and food supplies. So, and that's how they get their slaves. Like, they can take over a whole settlement that way, and all they have to do is wait. People are eating this stuff. They don't know it. It's in small doses. It's going to take some time. And basically going along with what you're saying, but even better, I think, is because they don't know what's doing it, but all of a sudden people are acting weird. They're speaking in a strange language, and they look kind of dazed. You're like, "What's wrong? How are you?" And they're like, "Rr, rr, rr, rr." Like, what are you doing? You sound like a tree frog. Or people are keep climbing on things and jumping around, and other people won't get out of the river in this river town. And then you got the the folks that are just screaming for no reason every 6 seconds or so.
For me, I could see these as a good cover for a higher level creature, or that the grungs just can't mess with, or a creature that's immune to poison that can deal with the grungs because they're not having all these weird trippy effects happen to them. And they're like, look, I can smash you anytime I want. You're just pretty much my guards, involuntary guards for my region, so that you can kind of keep so the Venturers have to go through these grungs thinking that they're their main thing, but really it's the power behind the grungs.
I think even better than that would be to have a grung show up to the party and be like, hey, I need your help. There's this evil tyrant. He's taking over our tribe. He's ruling us. And let's face it, grungs are pretty damn cute, right? So it's this cute little frog guy, and he needs your help because the big bad is immune to poison and they can't affect him. And he's squished a few of them. So now they bring in the PCs to free them and liberate them. But, and also, like, there's a bunch of slaves, but it turns out the slaves are actually owned by the grung. And the grungs are just as evil as the person that they were liberated by. And, not only that, it becomes the plot twist is, okay, you defeat whatever the big bad is, whether it's a green dragon or whatever, and then all the grung jump on you.
And then they have a celebratory feast.
Oh, yeah, they could do it that way, even
Which
sneakier.
is all poison.
Which is all poison. And the players are like, hey, you're gonna free the prisoners now or whatever. And,
yeah. We invited them to the party.
So, yeah. So that would definitely be some interesting ways that you could use the grung. Just off the top of my head, the question is, how would you guys use grung in your game? We have a place where you can let us know, and that's the comments. While you're at it, like, share, and subscribe.
You can check us out over at nerdarchy.com.
You can follow us on Instagram.
So until next time,
Stay nerdy.